Hello there, and good morning and greetings from Brussels. Díogh Galéir, and a warm welcome to this Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps 2021 to 2027 launch. My name is Méabh McMahon. I originally come from Navan, but I'm a journalist based here in Brussels, working as a TV reporter for Euronews, and also a very, very proud Erasmus Plus alumni. Many years ago, I took off to Hamburg for the year and spent a wonderful, incredible year on Erasmus there. Opened my eyes to the world and made friendships that I still have to this very day. And a couple of years after that, I headed off to Valencia in the east coast of Spain on a Leonardo da Vinci program, another European exchange program. And I still haven't made it back to Ireland since to live. So that just shows you how brilliant and how wonderful these experiences have been and the impact they've had on my professional life. But enough about me. Another very warm welcome to this special event hosted both by Léargas and the Higher Education Authority. It's the very first time this new Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps national launch takes place in such a virtual space. And it's exciting. It's an inspiring gathering because it's about a new chapter. I think after the last 14 months we're all about new beginnings and embracing new chapters. So over the next hour or so, we'll be finding out all about this new chapter. What will it bring? What will it mean? What opportunities will it open up for Ireland, for Irish people and for Europeans, and of course, for their role within the European Union today. Now, before we kick off properly, just a couple of brief announcements from me. Now, I know at this stage you're all pretty accustomed to virtual events, but if you do have any technical questions at all during the event, do make sure you use the chat and talk to Anya, Niamh and Brian. They'll be standing by for the whole launch to help you out to make sure that you have a smooth event and you can be with us for this whole event. Because of course, this event is also about you. We want you to get involved and use social media to tell us who you are, where you're joining from, what you think of the program. And if you have any comments or remarks to make during the launch, if you're tweeting, do use that hashtag Erasmus Plus Ireland launch or ESCI Ireland launch to chat with the other attendees of today's event. And as I said already, my personal experience has been amazing. So I'm confident we're going to be hearing a lot about the new program today and how more inclusive, in fact, it will be and how it'll tick a lot of the boxes that the European Commission here in Brussels are trying to tick when it comes to paving the way for the future and making it better for us all. So without further ado, we're going to stay here in Brussels where I am, stay here in the EU quarter and pass you over to Adrienn Király. Now, Adrienn Király is the head of cabinet to the European Commissioner Maria Gabriel. Maria Gabriel is the European Commissioner for Innovation, Research, Culture and Education, and she's been represented today by Adrienn, who knows this dossier extremely well. So without further ado, Adrienn, the floor is yours. Good morning.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to participate in this launch event for the new Erasmus Plus and European programs on behalf of Commissioner Gabriel. As we start a new 7-year journey, I would first like to thank all of you for your commitment. Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps have always been about bringing Europe together. So it is symbolic that we are coming together to celebrate this launch, even if we are still doing this virtually. And we have so much to celebrate. Erasmus Plus is stronger than ever. We have 26 billion euros budget over the next 7 years, nearly double what we had in the previous programming cycle. The European Solidarity Corps is just as strong. The Corps is bringing 1 billion euro to help over 270,000 young people make a meaningful contribution to society. Along the way, they will gain experience, insight, and new skills. We are leveraging these funds to help all our participants while helping our education and training systems become more inclusive, greener, more digital, and to better prepare young people to participate in democratic life. From supporting the European education area to helping to build our European universities alliances, Erasmus Plus will bring together more and more European learners. Most of all, the new Erasmus program puts the emphasis where it belongs, building the education community. That means e-twinning so that our learners can truly benefit from Europeans' perspective as they explore difficult subjects like media literacy or sustainability. But it also means investing in more flexible mobility and in more accessible cooperation formats with smaller organizations through the new small-scale partnerships. And simplifying the management of our projects so that all of you can focus on what you do best, help people learn. From the teachers' academies to the new centers of vocational excellence, from our youth participation activities to the rollout of the European student card across the higher education landscape, everybody will benefit. This is also true for the Solidarity Corps. We want to give young people more life-changing opportunities. We want them to find their way on their own terms, feeling empowered to make a difference. This is why, for the first time, the new program will allow young people to volunteer in the humanitarian aid field too, across the world, and this starting from 2022. This, of course, is in addition to all the good work that the Corps is doing in the EU. The commitment of these volunteers since COVID started has been truly amazing. Across Europe, young volunteers were sewing masks or providing groceries for the elderly. Many others were fighting mental illness and isolation in their communities. They have even organized for the most vulnerable among us activities such as cooking, but to sport as well. This is real solidarity. And I know we will have so many more examples like these ones in the new programming period. In the last Erasmus 7 years, Ireland saw 160,000 learners participate in mobility schemes. At the same time, 60% of the Solidarity Corps volunteers in Ireland were young people with fewer opportunities. This is how inclusive the program has been. In the next 7 years, we want to beat these numbers together. Thanks to our work with the European Parliament and the Council, we have a solid legal basis in place for both programs. Everything is ready to go. In fact, the first calls for the new programs are now closed. Thousands of organizations across Europe have already submitted their applications to help more and more Europeans participate in this wonderful community we have built and we are still building together. This launch event is a great moment for constructive exchanges on the opportunities offered by the new programs. But it is also the perfect moment for me to thank you all. In particular, I would like to thank the tireless work of the Irish national agencies in helping us co-create the new programs. You have done a tremendous work in pursuing the objectives of the Erasmus and European Solidarity Corps programs, especially in the face of major challenges like Brexit or the COVID pandemic. You should be proud. Thank you all, and I wish you a very enriching event.
Thank you so much, Adrienn Király there, the Head of Cabinet to Commissioner Maria Gabriel, with her opening comments there from Brussels saying that everything is ready to go. And so far, 160,000 Irish people or Irish residents have had the opportunity to go on an exchange programme or engage with the Erasmus Plus or the European Solidarity Corps, a number that she hopes to see increasing over the next 7 years. Thank you so much, Adrienn Király, for those opening comments. And you mentioned, of course, the role of Ireland and the role of Dublin in paving the way and creating this new programme. And for that, we can now hear from the Irish government and get the perspective from Dublin and bring in Minister Simon Harris. That's the Minister for Further and Higher Education, Research, Innovation and Science. Simon Harris sent us a special message for this morning's launch.
Good morning, everyone. I'm delighted to be here today virtually with you, joining Commissioner Gabriel and welcoming you all to this morning's national launch of Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps in Ireland. These programmes are one of the true success stories of the European Union. This is an exciting time for everyone involved in adult education, higher education, school educational, vocational education, training, volunteering and youth work, as we now launch new 7-year cycles of these programmes. This year alone, Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps will bring more than €42 million into our universities, colleges and further education, school and community organisations. So I invite everyone here to imagine, what would you like to achieve with that funding? What could we learn from our peers in the rest of Europe? What innovation and experience could we share with them? How could studying or training or volunteering in another European country help our learners and help our young people to blossom and grow? Because Erasmus Plus has opportunities for so many different kinds of people. Very often when you mention Erasmus, it's associated with our higher education students spending a semester or a year in a college in Europe. However, Erasmus is open to many more people: apprentices, vocational learners, school pupils and young people. I'm very pleased to see that this year, for the first time, adult learners will be funded and supported to travel to other countries for peer or work-based learning. This is a great development because even short-term periods abroad can be transformational. Léargas research has shown that 95% of mobility participants say they came back feeling better able to cooperate with people of different backgrounds and cultures and more open-minded and curious. It's really important that we understand these opportunities are for everyone. And our co-hosts today, the HEA and Léargas, are there to support people to get involved. And I want to thank them both for their work in this regard. There's extra funding and support available for people with additional needs or with fewer opportunities, and their participation is always increasing. By the end of the last programme, nearly a fifth of higher education participants and nearly 2/3 of European Solidarity Corps were young people with fewer opportunities. You'll see 2 short videos later this morning that tell the stories of some of these young people and also explain the priorities of these European programmes. These priorities will be familiar to us in Ireland already: inclusion and diversity, encouraging participation in democratic life, fighting climate change and supporting the digital transitions in society. These priorities complement the commitments set out in our programme for government to increase Irish participation in Erasmus Plus programmes and to position Ireland at the heart of Europe and enhance the spirit and solidarity that inspired the very formation of the EU. They also align with my department's mission to support people in reaching their full potential and to create value, prosperity, resilience and a cohesive, sustainable, vibrant society. Policy and programmes go hand in hand. Taking part in Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps empowers Irish people to connect with other people and really engage with these issues. The pandemic has shown us how much we all rely on and value human connections, and now that we can begin to reconsider safely affirming them in person, I encourage you all to harness that power. We have learnt over the last year how interdependent we all are. And when we work together, when we get to know each other, when we come together, there is no challenge in this world we cannot take on. Erasmus, a programme originally founded by an Irish commissioner, is something very dear to our hearts here in Ireland. I encourage everybody to avail of the many, many opportunities it provides. Méabh.
And that was the Irish Minister there, Simon Harris, reminding us that the Erasmus Plus and the European Solidarity Corps is open to all sorts of people from all different types of backgrounds. So it's just about engaging in it over the next 7 years. And at this stage in the launch, if you have any comments or remarks or questions, do pop them in the chat and we'll have a look at them as we go along. But for now, let's move on and bring in Lorraine Gilligan, the Executive Director of Léargas. She's been working with Léargas for more than 26 years. So she knows this field more than any of us, and she became the Executive Director back in 2020. We're delighted to hear from her this morning. So for now, Lorraine Gilligan, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Méabh. That's a very great deal, very old, but very experienced. So good morning, everyone. I'm Lorraine Gilligan and I'm Director of Léargas. And it is my real pleasure to welcome you all this morning to the launch of the Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity programmes here in Ireland. Messages by Adrienn Király in the European Commission and Minister Harris in our own Department for Further and Higher Education. You already know that these 2 programmes are really central to achieving both European and national policy goals over the coming years. I think the importance of European collaboration, of working together to make our societies better, is very well understood at this stage. But it's always exciting to launch new programmes because they offer both new opportunities for people across Europe and a chance to assess what it is that we want to achieve together. As we return to the possibility of mobility soon, hopefully, in a safe and supported way, we in Léargas are looking forward to supporting new participant groups to take part in our programmes. We're particularly excited to deliver the many new activities and opportunities that these programmes, through the core priorities of inclusion, digital, green and participation of citizens, will offer. In this Erasmus Plus programme cycle, for the first time, as the Minister mentioned, adult learners will be able to travel for periods of learning. We've supported adult education professionals in the previous Erasmus Plus programme. So this is a very welcome illustration of how this programme cycle is widening the opportunities for you. We're also looking forward to welcoming more early childhood organisations and many more new participants into the Erasmus Plus programmes. The wider scope of this new cycle of programmes, along with the bigger budget, means that even more organisations across Ireland can work with their peers to make society more inclusive and diverse, to become more digitally literate and adaptable, to be more environmentally conscious, and to encourage the active participation of young people and citizens into their communities. And I know these might sound like very lofty ideals out of reach, but until you look at the work that's being done in the projects that we fund today in the stories we're going to share, you'll hear echoes of those priorities, and you'll see that this change is already in progress. We've worked together with our colleagues from the HEA today to make some short videos that will show you how projects happening around Ireland are already connecting with these priorities, from schools encouraging environmental awareness through games to vocational organisations pioneering qualifications in digital media. So we're very excited to continue this work with you over the 7-year cycle to come. Today, we're also launching the first full 7-year cycle for the European Solidarity Corps programme, which has a budget of more than €1 billion for all of Europe. This funding supports young people to volunteer both at home and abroad, and to be of service to their communities, and to work together to address challenges and to make change. In fact, the European Solidarity Corps motto is the power of together, which has never really been more appropriate after the last 14 months or so. The pandemic and all of the associated restrictions have had an unparalleled impact on young people in particular, right across society in Ireland and across Europe. Some have felt locked out by lockdown, and we're delighted that the increased funding and the opportunities in both Erasmus Plus and European Solidarity Corps gives young people the power to actively take part in society and in its transformation. With the rollout of EU-wide vaccination programmes, we're very hopeful and confident that soon we'll be able to support our young people and our projects to widen their horizons once again. So thank you for joining us this morning as we celebrate this new programme cycle. We hope that you find inspiration in the stories that we have to share with you, and that you'll begin to continue your own journey, or maybe begin one in the next 7 years with these incredible programmes. Thank you.
That was Lorraine Gilligan there, the Executive Director of Léargas, describing the wider scope and telling us about the bigger budget and all the various characteristics of those programmes, and honing really that point of the power of together, the motto of the European Solidarity Corps programme. So Lorraine, thank you so much for those comments. And now we can move on and bring in Jerry O'Sullivan. Jerry O'Sullivan is the Head of International Programmes at the Higher Education Authority. These programmes include Erasmus+, the European Higher Education Business Dialogue and International Cooperation. So Jerry, a very good morning to you, and please give us your opening remarks and tell us really what the higher education side of the Erasmus Plus will bring over the next 7 years.
Méabh Mahagat, Méabh agus Faram Fear Queen Fall to the Gocéine talk in our massacre and Majum all in shop. Thank you very much, Méabh, and indeed thank you, Adrienn and Lorraine, for your contributions, and we welcome the Commission representative very much to our national launch this morning. There are a number of features in the new programme that will be particularly attractive to our Irish stakeholders. And just to give you an indication of where we travel to at the moment in these very difficult travel times, but historically over the past number of years, these are the top 5 countries that Irish students have travelled to for study visits, with France, Spain, Germany, Netherlands and the UK filling those positions. And in the area of traineeships, the UK is a significant provider of placements, with Spain, France, Germany and Luxembourg also in that mix. So those are the kind of dominant areas of Europe that our students are traveling to. But there are other parts of the world that we are also engaging with. And the Erasmus programme has been a huge driver of internationalization in our higher education sector. As mentioned already, there are a number of priorities in the new programme to cover the very important area of inclusion, as well as digitization and the green Erasmus. And I see these very much as having important alignments with the major priority areas of higher education in the modern world. In our recent call for KA131, the student and staff mobility action of the new programme, we have had over 7,000 applications for over 7,000 mobilities from 28 higher education institutions. And clearly that is an enormous improvement on previous years, one that initially, at any rate, we won't be able to meet because of funding restrictions. But it is a very strong indicator from Ireland that the recovery from the COVID pandemic and the problems that it has created for international travel is behind us for the moment. And we look forward to re-engaging with our partners across the continent, indeed further afield in the next years. Importantly, the programme provides a very strong alignment, obviously, with mobility. But I would also like to mention the importance of inclusion, research and internationalization, which feature in this programme. Traditionally, the programme has supported study and traineeship visits across the continent. The one major change there for the future is that the minimum period for a study visit has dropped to 2 months from 3. And importantly, the European Commission has placed a huge emphasis on inclusion and has matched that talk with funds, where every student who qualifies for that category will now receive a monthly top-up of €250. And that is, I think, going to have a very important impact on our education system and opening the door to international mobility for students who maybe up to now weren't able to do so because of the financial barrier. Another activity that will also improve mobility as well as inclusion is the new blended intensive programs, and indeed blended mobility in general. The new blended intensive program allows 3 countries and 3 higher education institutions to partner and provide short mobility experiences in very focused learning situations. And we greatly welcome the introduction of this opportunity. The internationalization of the European Union is also critically important, and since its introduction in 2015 of the International Credit Mobility Action, Ireland has secured a place for its higher education system on all continents. And in the new programme, under the European Mobility Activity, we can now use up to 20% of that budget. And from next year, the new action, which will be called KA171, will be reintroduced, opening opportunities again for mobilities not only within Europe, but across the continent in its entirety. Excuse me. The doctoral mobility program is also hugely important because we see this very much as providing synergies with Horizon Europe and the world of research. Doctoral students haven't that flexibility of movement that maybe undergraduates have, but now through this initiative, they will be able to have regular periods of short-term mobility with colleagues on the continent and be able to develop and bring an international development and an international component to their research and to their learning at the Irish higher education institution. When we speak about the European project, we think immediately of the Jean Monnet activity, which is about the study of European studies, looking at the European integration process, which has been now ongoing since 1957 with the formation then of the European Economic Community. And significantly, Ireland has embraced the opportunities presented by Europe over the period since Ireland joined the programme in 1973. And albeit that the departure of the United Kingdom is very much regretted, it is a very significant moment in Irish history that we are now aligning ourselves with our colleagues in Europe in such a significant way going forward. So we see ourselves being very much tied and integrated to that particular process. That particular European project has saved many lives over the past 60 odd years, and including the current COVID pandemic, whatever about some of the weaknesses and failings of the system, one cannot but imagine how much more difficult it would have been had there not been a European Union. The Jan Monnet action continues along traditional lines for higher education, with modules, chairs and centres of excellence available there for application. The cooperation space is also interesting, with cooperation partnerships being open to all of our institutions, and we recently received those applications, which were a record 19, and looking for something in the region of €6 million for an available fund of about half of that activity. I thank everybody for their attendance this morning, which has been heartening to see the large numbers, to our colleagues in Léargas for facilitating the launch, and to our colleagues who have contributed to presentations at the event. I also would like to encourage all our higher education institutions to plan actively now for the resumption of physical mobility to Europe, and to make sure that all the conditions that prevail in the countries that are going to be hosts are studied and examined, and that the experience that's going to be put in place for our students and staff in the next year at least will be the one that will remain with them for the rest of their lives. So, gur míle maith gach
Gur míle maith Jerry O'Sullivan. On a similar fod, thank you so much for bringing us all those details there. Jerry O'Sullivan there, Head of International Programmes at the Higher Education Authority, and calling out on all of you as well to start preparing for the continent to get on the move again, and for people to start moving. I feel like that word mobility is popping up a lot here. Everyone really ready to move again after 14 months of lockdown. As Lorraine said, that vaccination rollout is speeding up, and hopefully things will be getting back to normal by the autumn, and normality can come back, and people can have that real experience that they deserve and that they will be able to have perhaps in the next 7 years with those programs. So Jerry O'Sullivan, thank you so much. Lovely to hear from you this morning. And if, of course, you have any comments for Jerry or any remarks on his presentation there, on his PowerPoint, on any of the points that he made, make yourself heard there in the chat, or use Twitter as well, and we will have a look and I will refer to them. Now, Lorraine earlier mentioned that we had prepared a video for you highlighting and showcasing some Erasmus Plus projects around Ireland, and how, in fact, they are connected to the new priorities of the new programme cycle. So we can take a look at that now.
Erasmus Plus is one of the European Union's most visible success stories. It builds on the achievements of more than 30 years of European programmes in education, training, youth and sport, covering both intra-European as well as an international partnerships dimension. The Erasmus Plus programme has specific objectives to promote learning mobility of individuals and groups in the fields of education, training and youth, promote cooperation, quality, inclusion and innovation in organisations that work in education, training and youth. The new Erasmus Plus programme for 2021 to 2027 has a bigger budget than previous years. €26.2 billion for all of Europe, compared to €14.7 billion for 2014 to 2020. 70% of this funding will support mobility projects for all, and 30% will be invested in cooperation projects and policy development. Extra funding is available for people with additional needs or with fewer opportunities to support their participation. The programme is dedicated to support, through lifelong learning, the educational, professional and personal development of people in education, training and youth in Europe and beyond. This will contribute to sustainable growth, quality jobs and social cohesion, to driving innovation and to strengthening European identity and active citizenship. The Erasmus Plus 2021 to 27 programme will achieve these objectives by realising 4 key priorities: inclusion and diversity, digital transitions, environment and the fight against climate change, participation in democratic life. Erasmus Plus promotes equal opportunities and access, inclusion, diversity, and fairness across all areas, with a focus on organisations and participants with fewer opportunities. When designing their projects and activities, organisations should have an inclusive approach, making them accessible to a diverse range of participants.
The Prospero project addresses the challenge that social professionals like social workers or social pedagogues or early years teachers may have in the future in working alongside technologies like social robots or artificial intelligence. At the moment, their educational programs don't really deal with these sorts of issues. So we've identified this, and ultimately we want to produce user-friendly materials that educators can pick up and then apply in their own settings wherever they are across Europe.
We have designed the Prospero project to be inclusive. It includes very diverse groups. So, for instance, the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland are one of our participants. In terms of diversity, we have included colleagues from places like Poland, Spain, Denmark and the Netherlands.
The Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, they're very open to partnerships and to testing out new ideas, like in the Prospero project. Our role in the Prospero project is to, I suppose, test how social robots work in a dementia care setting, how things work on the floor, if you like, rather than in the kind of theoretical textbooks. You get challenged by that, but what happens at the end is that you produce something that is really new and innovative and worthwhile.
The COVID-19 crisis highlighted the importance of digital education, the need for digital transformation, the significance of harnessing digital technologies for teaching and learning, and the demand for developing digital skills for all. Organisations should aim to engage learners, educators, youth workers, young people, and organisations in the path to digital transformation.
The EFDM project is basically about updating existing digital media qualifications from City and Guilds at level 5. So we're updating and we're adapting them. And the reason for this is that we're creating a new suite of digital media qualifications for Europe, and that's to basically assist in helping address the skills gap. We've had really good feedback from students. They've really found that it's addressed a lot of the issues that they had in terms of upskilling. We've really listened to employers and we've identified the key skills, and we've developed 5 units around these key skills. There's so many elements that we've encompassed in the new qualification, so we really feel that we're answering the participants' needs in terms of what they need to do by upskilling.
Environment and climate action are key priorities for the EU now and in the future. The European Green Deal is the European New Growth Strategy. It recognises the key role of schools, training institutions and universities to engage with pupils, parents and the wider community on the changes we need for Europe to become climate neutral by 2050. Organisations and participants should try to incorporate green practices in all projects by taking an environmentally friendly approach when designing their activities. We encourage organisations to discuss and learn about environmental issues, to reflect on local actions, and to explore alternative, sustainable ways of carrying out their activities.
We've been working with the Erasmus Plus programme since 2018. Our project is to design eco-friendly board games. The aims of our project, it was to develop our entrepreneur skills for students, that they would have an awareness of cultures in different countries, and also that they would upskill in the area of technology. We work with 5 other countries, including ourselves, so we work with Spain, Italy, Greece, Croatia and Latvia. All our games are made from recyclable materials, so when we went on our Erasmus trips, it was even incorporated into our mobility, where we were taken to recyclable plants. We were shown how to incorporate it into our games, and we were able to come home then and to move forward with that in our design process.
Strengthening European identity and the participation of young people in democratic processes is of huge importance to the European Union's future. This priority supports people to become actively engaged with their communities and with political and social life. Projects should offer opportunities for people's participation in democratic life and social and civic engagement through formal or non-formal learning.
The projects that we work on always involve social activism and participation, and how we sort of work with that is to ensure that young people from the very offset are involved in the whole process of Erasmus programs. A lot of the programs that we would run here will be based on themes, and that would have come from the young people, so issue-based, what's affecting you in your day-to-day life, how do we make that change, and how do you become sort of an active citizen.
I have been involved in many Erasmus Plus projects, and right now I'm working on one called Wowby. We had a huge research piece done on the environment. It impacted my life by just giving me, number one, so much confidence, so much more motivation. My leadership skills have increased tenfold. There's too many things. I could go on for days about how it's benefited me.
The majority of young people that start off on the journey of Erasmus with us will start as a participant. Like as a young person just taking part, this sounds good, this sounds exciting, and let's be honest, I get the opportunity to travel. But actually what you see then is that the young person themselves wants to progress. It's an opportunity that often young people don't have, or youth workers, to be able to work in a very safe and secure place with young people and really build that relationship and really empower that young person.
Oh, just do it, go for it and do it and grab everything with both hands, like approach it with your absolute all, because really and truly what you put into these projects is what you get out. You'd be mad not to.
Erasmus Plus has opportunities for many different kinds of people to whom these 4 key priorities matter. University students, staff in education, training and youth organisations, vocational learners and apprentices, adult learners, school pupils, and young people. To find out more and to get your project started, visit www.erasmusplus.ie.
And a big shout out and a big thank you there to Lisa Downs and Nicholas Ryan from St Andrew's Resource Centre in Dublin there. As Nicholas said, what you put in is what you get out. You'd be mad not to do it. Really good advice there from Nicholas Ryan. Thank you so much to him for sharing his experience there. Also thanks to Georgina Hefferman at Capacity Ireland, to John Pender at IT Sligo, and Fergus Timmons at the Alzheimer's Society of Ireland, and also Michelle O'Brien at the O'Brennan National School there in Tralee with that fascinating project. Incredible there in that video to see the scope and the variety and really how the world is your oyster when it comes to these programs and what you can do with the Erasmus Plus and the upcoming program cycle. So thank you so much to them. And if you missed that video, we'll surely be sharing it as well on social media so that everyone else can have a look and see really what they can get out of this program. And if you again have any comments, please leave them in the chat. But next, I'd like to show you another video. It's just as inspiring, but this time it's about the European Solidarity Corps.
The European Solidarity Corps project that the Glucksman was involved in was called Art in Action, and it's built upon a programme of creative activities that the museum have been running for a number of years with young asylum seekers. And as part of the European Solidarity Corps project, we teamed up with a group of volunteers from University College Cork.
When Tig first approached us about it and said, oh, I want to do an art workshop with kids from Dark Vision, I was like, yes, I love art, creativity, and I really enjoy working with the kids, and anything that I can do to make people or help people have a little bit of a nicer time, happier life, I'm happy to do it.
Involve You Project, Méabh, is an organisation that works specifically with young people from the travelling community and other young people who are disadvantaged, aged from about 8 years of age up to 25. Our main focus will be on young people who are aged 10 to 18. We do many different programmes from homework, after school support to STEAM programmes concentrating on science, technology, engineering, art and maths. And we also do Erasmus work, which we're very proud of.
It was originally planned that we would go for day trips and meet up and do other activities with other people all across Europe. But with COVID, we had to do most of it online. It was still amazing. I got to meet loads of amazing people and have some really nice experiences, learn a lot about solidarity and collective consciousness and other things like that.
Cloughjordan Community Farm is a community-supported agriculture project. The idea is that through a membership model, we can ensure that farmers get paid well, on time, on a monthly basis, which allows them to grow food without the stress, without the financial stress involved. And as a group, we take the risk. You know, if you have a bad year, if there's a bad frost, when we get the odd drought and stuff like that, that we all kind of take on that responsibility together.
With the ESC, I've come to Ireland. I've moved back here because I'm an Irish national and Australian national as well too. I've come for this opportunity for farming and within a community called the Cloughjordan Community Farm. It's an eco-village and it's a learning opportunity for young people 18 to 30 like myself and Jorge.
On Mondays we do sports activities with the kids and it's probably their favourite thing to do. They love to run around and get all sweaty and crazy. So this is a game called Bomb, where we throw the ball and if someone drops the ball you've got 10 seconds to get rid of the ball or you're out. And it was raining, so we're underneath the marquee as well. So yeah, handling COVID and then being outside and doing all of that, that was eventful and fun.
This is in one of the rooms, like down in the basement of the Glucksman, and oh my God, it's a room that can just be like, art goes everywhere. You know, we push back the tables, paper on the floor, all the, you know, pencils, paints, and the kids come in we walk over from the bus and they come into the Glucksman and it's just like, okay, we're here, we're ready to do art. The room is just chaos, but the good kind of chaos. It's one of my favorite things about being here at UCC was getting to do these workshops.
This is in our first few weeks. And we've got the Kubota tractor here, Jorge's on the back. We've just done a load, we're taking it back to the farm. It's great we're able to learn how to drive the tractor, whether we know or not, but there's lots of opportunities for us here, which is great. Also my grandfather has the same Kubota, so it's quite nice for me to be driving that. I feel like I'm back in my childhood.
Having this international group of young people in our town just adds this vibrancy and energy and gives opportunities for local young people to stay in town and gives them a reason, you know, to come back and visit often.
I think it was really important for our young volunteers to feel connected to other groups around Europe, to understand that actually they're not working in isolation, but rather they are part of a wider movement of young people who are working towards similar goals.
I have friends all over Europe now, so it's amazing. Like, you think when you get to a certain age that you're not going to keep broadening your friendship pool, but you do, and it's fabulous.
Growing up mixed race in Ireland, I benefited a lot from community outlets and other programs like that, and I really wanted to give back and kind of take what I had learned from my own experience and being able to give that to young people. That would be the main reason that I originally got involved in volunteering.
I think it's important to me because community, the people who surround me, everybody, I like working with people, and if I can, you know, help make someone's life a little bit easier or open up some opportunities or some doors to other people, then why not use that time for something like that?
For me it's important because, I don't know, when I help like people or animal or nature or whatever, like I feel better with myself.
I like volunteering basically the same reasons as Jorge, but also it gives people like myself the opportunity to work in fields that we might not have access to in a work setting. So by volunteering, there's always a need that you're giving back to a community or a project, but also you're gaining these skills and experiences for yourself that's going to propel you for the future as well. I think it's a great opportunity, so anyone who's 18 to 30, they should definitely look into this.
I would love to continue volunteering. I'd really like to volunteer abroad. It's been nice volunteering at home. I have volunteered before abroad as well, but I'd like to keep going.
I would do this again in an absolute heartbeat. In fact, I hope and I think we will have more projects with the Glucksman.
It's something that's going to propel you for your future. You're always learning, and if it's an interest that you like, it's worth honing in on.
And a big thank you there to Kay McCabe and Larita Meher-Bordallo from Involve Youth Project Meath for sharing their personal experiences there. Massive thank you also to Ty Crowley, Mayor Kelly at the Glucksman in Cork, and also to Conor Mungy, Jake Haber and Jorge Russell at Clough-Jordan Community Farm. Really interesting and inspiring to hear their stories there and their interaction with the European Solidarity Corps. And I'm afraid that brings our launch to an end. So I just want to say thank you so much to you all for your company. Thank you all to all those who intervened. Thanks as well for all your engagement in the chat. If you're using the chat to engage, don't forget to mention where you're tuning in from and where you've been joining us from this morning. Gurmila Mahagath to you all. Best of luck with this brand new programme cycle over the next 7 years. I look forward to engaging with you here in Brussels, over in Ireland and beyond around the continent. And I leave you now with a beautiful special performance of music. It comes to us from the University of Limerick. It's the Irish Academy of Music and Dance, and the song is Trad Jig into Two Reel.
Hello everybody, and good afternoon from the University of Limerick. I'm really delighted to be here today to introduce the short performance that we have specially put together for you, and I'd like to thank the HEA very sincerely for this opportunity. I want to thank, on my own behalf, Dr. Alan Dormer, who organised the technical side of things today, and that was no mean achievement, and also Ivana Darcy from UL Global, who hugely supports everything we do. I also want to thank the musicians on the Irish side, Conal O'Kane, Aisling Lyons, Claire Egan, and also Dr. Niall Keegan, who is a central tenet of the Erasmus Plus collaborations from the Irish World Academy of Music and Dance. I also, of course, want to thank our partner institutions, the University of Cape Coast in Ghana and the Yared School of Music, Addis Ababa University. These collaborations are really important to us, and I'm really delighted that we could put this performance together for you today with those institutions. The Erasmus Plus collaborations that have happened from the Academy have allowed us to welcome students from these institutions to UL. This has had an influence on the curriculum in the three locations. We've also learned and articulated in a very unique way the performance and academic resonances in the different locations, and this is something that's very important to us. Of course, we've also had very fruitful and important staff collaborations with staff visiting all the different locations from Limerick and also welcoming staff to UL. This has been really, really fruitful, and there are many plans for developing this going forward. In terms of the performance you're going to hear today, the basis of this performance is Irish traditional music. So we're going to have a jig into two reels, a well-known jig into two well-known Irish traditional reels. And we're really delighted that our partner institutions could collaborate on this specially put together performance for you today. It's a unique piece. It has never happened before, and we're really delighted to present it to you today in the spirit of Erasmus Plus. And I want to thank the HEA again for these opportunities. These collaborations are really, really important, and they wouldn't be possible were it not for international mobility. It's amazing what international mobility can facilitate, and we're really looking forward to developing this further into the future. So I hope you enjoy the performance today.